And basically, the market structure right now is that people can invest in Bitcoin and Ethereum through an ETF, and the wider ecosystem is still not really available. Some groups can't even, through their mandate, invest in spot or even the ETF. And so this was an opportunity to maybe form a bullish expression of a particular protocol. And I think that the largest ones have worked very well because they actually have been diligenced by these groups. And so again, it goes back to this idea that something needs to be familiar. You have to defend valuation with something like cash flow or some sort of sustained adoption that people can get comfortable with. As we see more of that, I think that you're going to see more and more participation. And some of these subscale DATs, if they're not having these commercial partnerships and announcements that lead to those things, I think it's going to be difficult over time. So, but echo what Chris said beyond that. Yeah.
Yeah, just to add to what Chris said, and the tide goes out a lot in crypto world. So you have to be very careful about who you're working with, as we saw on the weekend. But if you again look from the traditional equity background, if you look at the back offices of big banks, in trade settlement, in intermediation that they do, that is going to change a lot over time. And so DATs are a good example of what's happening. But then we heard from, I think, the rep from JP Morgan on the panel yesterday and other people what's happening. So to me, you are really addressing that part of the industry, the big part. Now, still, if you talk about the bond issuance on chain, which is still more like a PR thing than the real thing, because there's still a back office trying to reconcile what settlement has happened. So we really haven't seen the big move in it. So I still think that we are very early in what we are saying. But you're going to see real use case in industry, real use case in banking. So you're seeing a new monetary framework is being built up. And while some people might be getting bullish on gold, but there's something else happening. And this is not your grandfather's gold. This is something else which is being built around. And you really need to be part and understand what's going on, else you're going to get left out. And with the digital framework and decentralization and TradeFi and DeFi and everything that's happening, you have a real framework is being built in front of you, right in front of you, with new and big winners. So when I see projects of people are working on tokenizing unit assets, and if you look at the case of BlackRock and what they are looking to do with their fund business, real estate business, you really have a big future being built up. And this is coming from people who didn't believe in blockchain or didn't believe in these things. You can go and Google their videos from 2-3 years ago where they didn't believe in this. And then you have people like Peter Schiff. And I saw a video last night of a guy who was banging about blockchain when it was $4,000, and Peter Schiff was ridiculing him. And yes, Peter Schiff is right on gold, which is at $5,000, but look where Bitcoin has gone to at the same time. People are excited about silver has gone to all-time high. It took 40 years to go back to that all-time high. That's not how long it takes Bitcoin and everything else to go. So you can be skeptic and miss out on everything, or you can take an interest and learn.
Alrighty, everybody, what is going on? Welcome back to another CYPRX video breakdown. In light of the recent pullback that we've seen in crypto, I thought that I would dabble inside the CYPRX research section in some of our tab threads here and just go over some video clips from people with valid credentials that stem from large institutions in the digital asset ecosystem, giving you guys their peace of mind to set the tone for the remainder of 2025 and the outlook heading into 2026, letting you all know as my audience that we are still extremely early in the digital asset ecosystem, and there is still so many tailwinds that have not yet been priced in to the price trajectory of the digital asset ecosystem that are still yet to come. So with that being said, hopefully you guys enjoy. As you all heard that gentleman on stage talking at the Digital Asset Summit in London that just recently took place a few weeks ago, mentioned that they are literally building out a new monetary system, and that if you do not participate in that new monetary system, you risk being left behind. Now, this particular video breakdown right here, this retail giant now accepting crypto from CoinDesk, I want to thoroughly cover in today's video. But before we do that, I want you guys to listen to this video that was posted just 19 hours ago. Only has 13 views from a gentleman that stems, I believe he is says right here, he's the associate director at Boston Consulting Group. Boston Consulting Group, obviously, of course, one of the big four consulting firms. So you all should be paying attention to the things that he's saying. And he sounds the furthest away from being bearish on digital assets and crypto. Listen here to what he says, because it's going to go hand in hand with the video breakdown here in a second that I'll show you.
So I expect, nevertheless, mass adoption, and we will see this already over the last 1 or 2 years, when the big brands of traditional finance are jumping on the topic for various reasons, because for cost right demand, because of efficiency, than others. But when those big brands with the trusted logos, so to say, are jumping into this topic, then the masses will follow and they will find those, surprise, surprise, cheaper and more efficient products.
So he goes on to mention that when the big brands start to adopt digital assets and crypto, that is when the masses will come on board. And if we've seen anything this year, it has been exactly that. Some of the biggest announcements that have not yet been priced into the digital asset ecosystem. For example, this one here from October 2025. A century-old U.S. retail corporation, Beals, is starting to accept crypto payments through a partnership with Flexa across its 660 stores in 22 different United States. The national retailer will leverage Flexa payments, which would allow Beals to accept more than 99 different cryptos. That's going to go very important with another gentleman here that's speaking on stage, including meme coins and stable coins from over 300 different digital wallets. The announcement aligns with the company's 110th anniversary, the company release noted. And if we come over here to the interview shared from CoinDesk, listen to what Matt Beal says.
I'm here with Matt Bell of Bell's Retail, Danny McCabe from Flexa. We're going to talk about all things, here's this historic store. It's been around 110 years that is now accepting 99 different cryptocurrencies as payment, which I think really reinforces a trend that we've been seeing across the board of more and more people interested in crypto from a payments investment and just sort of general finance perspective. But first, Matt, give us like the TLDR on Bell's for anyone who might not know about your stores.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we are 110 and a half years old now. So we were founded by my great-grandfather in Florida. We're still in the same hometown that we were founded in back in 1915. And my grandfather took over the company, my dad, and then myself. And it's just been a long history of great retail success, kind of a success story in America. We're family owned and operated and have been for that period of time. And we have 660 stores in 23 states right now. And we employ about 15,000 people. We're the fourth largest retailer behind TJ Maxx, Ross, and Burlington in the off-price world, and we're the only privately held retailer. So that's kind of just, very brief background of our story. A lot's happened in the last 110 years, of course, but that's us in a nutshell.
And so you heard Matt Beal go on to mention that they are a huge retailer, one of the top 4 in the United States, and they're now starting to integrate crypto for payments into all of their store locations. Considering what the gentleman from BCG said, that once these big name brands start to integrate crypto, the masses will come. And ladies and gentlemen, we are right on the verge of that. So considering the most recent market downturn, do you really think that you should be fearful? I know that my followers and you all here watching CYPRX are not, but just double check and make sure that you guys are focused on projects that are aligned with regulation, that are building, that are partnering, that are integrating with financial giants to be a part of this new financial ecosystem, and that you're locked in and focused on the future. Now, listen to what Danny McCabe here says, the CEO and co-founder of Flexa, and how he talks about how many crypto assets will be used as payment moving forward.
8 years into this, right? So when we started in 2018, we were kind of in beta mode and did some testing, but even then it was exciting. Then we launched in 2019 publicly. And from that time, we've seen consistent adoption. It hasn't been, consistent massive growth, but it's been consistent growth. So for us at Flexa, we want to make sure Matt and Bell's has that optionality, which is why we're open to, I think right now, 15 different chains and counting. And that's why we're not limiting it to 1 or 2 different assets or 1 or 2 different wallets. We're making this so any digital asset can be spent from any wallet on any chain. And that's optionality for Matt, optionality for Bell's, and therefore he can help his guests when they come to shop.
So Flexa partnering with a big name brand like Beals just went on to confirm that there is not going to be one chain to rule them all. That coexists with something that another gentleman, again, going back to the Digital Asset Summit in London, said on stage about how there will be many different digital assets with $1 trillion market cap. Take a second here and listen.
From 4 trillion, 25x. That's an incredible tailwind that pulls, this almost a secular growth story of this asset class. So for me, when I think about differentiating managers who are trying to beat Bitcoin, if we're in this huge secular tailwind, there's a diseconomy of scale with Bitcoin. It can't keep doubling. But everything else, we only have one asset that's worth $1 trillion within digital assets. If we get to 100 trillion, we're going to have many. So there's again, going back to that asymmetry, there's going to be an asymmetry for the liquid token managers to find those those liquid venture-like returns.
If we get to $100 trillion market cap, then we are going to have many different digital assets with $1 trillion market cap. So take that into consideration where we are at right now. Now, when will all of this likely happen? In my personal opinion, it will be a couple of months after regulations are firmly implemented and put in place. And I'm not the only person that houses that particular view. Take a second and let's go back to the CEO of Flexa and how he mentions how as soon as there is regulatory clarity, we are set to see a massive explosion in the digital asset ecosystem.
If a customer wants to come in and start taking crypto payments, what's the timeline these days utilizing Flexa? Is can it be done in weeks? Is it something that you really need to reimagine your whole backend systems? What's the general timeline?
Yeah, we have so many different product offerings now that it can be done, virtually immediately, depending on how the merchant might want to accept. But Flex is really built to help merchants thrive in this next era of commerce, and what that means for us. And you touched on a few things talking to Matt there about legislation that's coming. I mean, when Genius, just a hint, the rumor of Genius started, we saw merchants get really interested. And when that passes, then you start to see a lot more roll in. The same things happen with clarity right now. Merchants are interested because there's a promise of clarity. The next thing is going to be tax reform. And we've talked about this publicly a few times, but we need de minimis relief tax reform. So when folks go and they buy a cup of coffee, it's not a taxable event. So really there's this three-pronged thing. It was Genius for stablecoins, clarity for market structure, and then tax reform. When merchants have all three of those things, and there's actual law controlling three of those things, I think they're going to start to really roll in and this whole thing just sort of explode. So what that means for Flexa is we had to build this.
Now, what he just said perfectly aligns with the CEO of Crossover Markets that was just recently interviewed by Tony Edwards on Thinking Crypto. So shout out to Tony Edwards for this interview. This is the last video clip that I'll play for today. Mind you, he has the same exact opinion, is that as soon as there is a hint or a possibility that the market structure bill gets passed, we are set to see institutions start to onboard at a granular scale. And then when it does officially pass, the institutional floodgates are set to open.
I mean, yes, I think the big thing, though, is the thing with the market structure bill is it changes the game overnight because it gives a regulatory path for existing institutions to come in and understand exactly what they're getting involved in and which regulator they're getting involved with. I think what we'll see with market structure bill is before it's even passed, with most of these bills, we saw it with the stablecoin. With most of these bills, you start to realize there's chatter and we understand the bill is getting passed before it gets passed, maybe days to a week or 2 weeks. I think the second there's chatter that this bill is going to finally get passed, you're going to see M&A skyrocket. I think you're going to see traditional players on Wall Street, exchanges as one example, banks as another example, among others, buy their way into the space very, very quickly. And so I think that's the first thing people are going to see. I think related to that, you're going to see a lot of more partnerships and a lot of big announcements related to that, because it just so at that point, the path is very clear. It's very easy for folks at serious institutions to get approvals with their committees now that they have a very clear and concise regulatory framework to play with. And the market structure bill that was passed by the House is very clear. And they've done a great job, and we're going to see what the Senate does. And I think there's a lot of optimism there. So I think that's great for us as a business at Crossover.
Right. So all of these people house similar opinions that there's going to be multiple different digital assets that succeed in the future, that once there's regulatory clarity, we are going to see the institutional floodgates open, that when big name brands start to adopt digital assets, which I've now shown you proof they are in the near future going to start to integrate them, if not already, that mass adoption will unfold. Now is not the time to be bearish in the digital asset ecosystem. Now is the time instead to be locked in to a sound research community, one of the most sophisticated research communities on the face of the internet. No hopium, no hype here in the private CYPRX Discord. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed today's video. If you guys want access to the CYPRX research, which is an all-in-one hub for the new digital era, we go far beyond surface news in our private community. Inside our platform, you will find thousands, I'm not even joking, thousands of updated primary source documents, live panel discussions, and deep dive video breakdowns, all organized in concentrated threads so that you can move from headline to high-level insights without friction. You guys have different tabs like on-chain data, digital wallets, DeFi, real-world assets and stablecoins, AI agents, quantum, regulation, digital banking, metaverse. This is the research that matters. Hopefully you guys are tapped in, as hopium and hype will quickly fade into the background, but institutional grade analysis will always endure. All of our members receive weekly Zoom calls that break down key macro data and crypto catalysts. We deliver fundamental reports on a daily basis and real institutional delta and dark pool data via our institutional in-house algorithms and software. So whether you trade, build, or invest, CYPRX research gives you the verified intelligence and community edge to thrive in every single market cycle. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video breakdown. If you did, do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button and subscribe. We do appreciate the love and the support. If you guys want to access the CYPRX Discord and join our team, head over to cyprxtrading.com. We'd love to have you. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video breakdown.